welcome back to Manage the Mental. I'm EJ, 50% of a dynamic duo that's going to keep it 100%.
And I'm 50% of what he just said.
The other 50% of what I just said. Thank you. Welcome, y'all. T, before we even get started with the folks today, can you please play that clip, brother?
Most definitely.
Top story tonight at 5. A Macon teen is sentenced to life in prison for choking his sister to death during a fight over a Wi-Fi password.
According to evidence in the case, in February of 2018, a then 16-year-old Kevon Watkins was arguing with his mom because he changed the Wi-Fi password to play video games. His sister Alexis stepped in and then started fighting.
According to testimony in the case, Kevon placed his sister in a chokehold for about 15 minutes. Deputies say she was still in the chokehold when they arrived on scene. Alexis died in the hospital later that night.
So, man, you guys seeing that, I guess some years back, few years back in Macon, Georgia, a young man lost his cool and really put himself in position and did lifelong harm for really a situation that should not have gone that way. A family has literally been destroyed based off of a youth's inability to regulate his emotions, impulse control, man. And now I guess things are coming back up where they're talking about the sentencing and to see if they got any play at it, because he was given life, of course. But, as more and more research comes out, they start talking about the human brain not being fully developed until the age of 25, T.
Yep.
And if they got clinical experts to come in to say, hey, you know what he did was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But if he was not in his fully developed mind, he did that as he had an underdeveloped brain that, that made a poor decision, and he should not be given full consequences for, based on, something that if he had a second chance at 20 years old, he probably would not have done that.
Right.
So that his mind, he wasn't in his right mind when he made his, somebody changing the Wi-Fi. You gonna risk it all because somebody changed the Wi-Fi for a video game?
That's wild.
And it causes you to snap like that? What are two things? I mean, they're gonna have to do an evaluation because Wi-Fi should not yield those types of results. But I do remember at one point in time being 16. And so, for the people out there that are going to be saying, nah, he did what he did, he got to pay the consequences, F this, F that. Let me tell you something. It's a whole lot of things that you do at 16 that you wouldn't dare do at 26.
100%.
That is part of human development. It's a thing called maturity.
In
America, they put so much, they say that at 18, you should be a full-fledged adult.
Right.
And at 18, people don't even know how to, manage money. At 18, people shouldn't, it's a lot of things that you don't know at 18, but you're able to go, if it's to this country's benefit, they're going to use it to the best of their ability. And so at 18, you can sign up and go into armed services, where you could be responsible for killing people. You are legally allowed to go do that. And there's a whole lot of things that you probably really aren't necessarily ready for. 100%. As the more research comes out when they talk about full brain development, being able to, make correct decisions and things like that. Now, albeit this is not a situation where it's like a 16-year-old was decided to go sneak and drink and then had a horrific accident, or this is not that. This is something very much intentional in which this individual with some deeper psychological issues prior to, probably this happening. I think they should probably do some research to see what other things were there prior, to this incident, because I'm led to believe this was not his first outburst.
Nah, not at all. So from my understanding with Kevon Watkins, which the incident happened when he was 16 years old on February 2nd, 2018, his during the court proceeding, as they're kind of talking about it, his family had a whole dynamic where like they handled situations very aggressively. Like this isn't the first time him and his sister got into a fight. This is the first time him and his mom got into a fight. So what happened more so was Kevon Kavan and his mom was getting into an argument, and the sister stepped in to intervene. Right. So I guess if you guys know about video games, because I have a nephew, and sometimes he's not like gonna kill anybody, but like when he's on the game and stuff like that, in this day and age, he gets upset, and we're like, what's going on? Like, what happened? All this, and it's like a very emotional connection with these video games. So what he did with the Wi-Fi was he changed the password so his gaming can like stop lagging. And I guess when his mom confronted him, he got upset. The sister stepped in, he ended up killing his sister. So when we talk about impulse control at 16 years old, like what does that look like? In my personal opinion, I don't think it's ever justified to kill anybody, right? Wasn't intent to kill his sister. Obviously, it wasn't, like in the court proceeding and stuff like that. It wasn't intended for him to kill his sister. That's not what he was trying to do. But that's what ended up happening. That's what ended up happening was he ended up killing his sister. So, but at the sentencing with the judge literally was telling him, like, I feel bad for the adults who raised you to feel like dealing with situations like this is okay. And that's where I'm like, okay, does the blame, quote unquote, be shifted? It's just like, do the parents have to take responsibility? Should he take responsibility for his actions? You know what I mean? But I feel like all of it is interconnected. At a kid at 16 years old, you're still, like you said, still being a sponge. Your brain's not fully developed. So you're pretty much still doing what you were taught or what you wasn't taught, or just handling the situations as you feel like should be handled. Right? At 16 years old, I most definitely don't handle the situations. I'm pretty sure you don't handle situations as you did when you're 16 years old. Right? Because there has to be life experiences, maturity, your brain has to develop. All that stuff relates into, impulse control and anger, right? But I feel like it's typically sometimes as men, especially young men, I would say at 16 years old, I was probably, I'm down to fight. I'm down to do whatever, you know what I mean? But understanding as you get older, it's like, okay, that's not the way to go about things, right? Again, he didn't intend to kill his sister, but that's what happened because
That was the result.
He chose it. Yep.
Yeah. But they said in the original tape that when the people got there, he still had her in a chokehold.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, he saw red.
Mm-hmm.
I think, saying when we talk about anger management and stuff like that, when people flash like that, they're almost in a whole nother dimension. Now, for him, of course, there are adults that do the same thing, but still, this is very much a minor. And for the judge to be so raw and so crass like that with the family by delivering a what I would like to consider another unnecessary blow. You've lost two children. But see, that's where the lack of empathy is. Just because you're well educated and you have a high IQ does not mean that you necessarily have a high EQ. That judge should have had the wherewithal to know that that's probably, you may feel whatever you feel, Your Honor, but that wasn't okay to say. That reflects that you have low EQ, and it's scary to know that people like that are in such positions of power. You're dealing with a family that have lost two children, one to the grave, one to prison. Lost two children simultaneously at the same time, both gone. And the only thing you can come up with is tell the one that's going to prison, I feel sorry for you, for the people that, raised you or whatever, or I feel bad for you because of the way that people, not okay. But going back to that, it was not maybe his intention to do what it was that he did, but obviously the outcome was just that. And it's definitely a tragedy. I would, for me personally, before really being able to properly assess things, I think it would be good, and I would hope they probably did this in court, to look at previous conflicts. What kind of student was he in school? Did he fight kids? Did he do this? Did he do that? Because I know, like you said, at age 16, sometimes you can get so engulfed in something.
Yeah.
You're not thinking. You don't really think. And if you already have something where it could be a genetic thing where you have, poor regulation of emotion, where there's like real emotional dysregulation going on. When something gets, and you just flash off like that and you go, those are things to really, really think about, and that's a hard thing. So I guess my question to you is they want to go back in court and they want to look at resentencing.
I guess there was an appeal that was put in,
Mm-hmm.
because as of right now, he has life in prison. Now, obviously, there has to be some form of consequencing.
For sure.
But
Life in prison at 16 years old.
To what extent, right? To what
Yeah.
extent? So, because we're talking about, again, it's kind of hard because obviously we're not in the position to, I guess, be the judges in all this, right? And like actually like have it like fall through. But also too, when we talk about his age, his age is like, okay, like what is a justifiable consequence for that? Should there be more of an integration of, obviously doing some form of time, and like during that time, doing some form of real rehabilitation, you know what I mean? Because I know we talk about like prison and jail being like a quote unquote rehabilitation center, but it's really not, you know what I mean? It's an institution where, many times you'll come out being a better person at that thing that you were in there for, right? You learn how to be a better criminal. You may learn how to, be a better killer, whatever it is, right? So what's a true justification? And from my understanding, the mother too was like, kind of question the sentencing, because as you're saying, it's like, man, I lost my daughter and now I lost my son.
Hey, if you can pull up that chart where it talks about brain development, just so the listeners know a little more, that might be something that we can pop up as a visual aid, where it talks about the age 25. And so those are one of the things that add a little spunk to it. I was going to share with you right now, just where it says, this is not necessarily empirical research, but just but it says 25, according to various sources, the age 25, brain development is subject to significant individual variation. Most experts believe that the brain is fully developed by age 25. For some people, brain development may be complete prior to 25, while for others, it may end after the age of 25. So he had 9 more years to probably for adequate executive functioning to, really, really shape. Seriously, I'm saying but again, we can't, it's not only so much we can say, because we unfortunately see adults that do heinous, crimes that are well past 25.
Yep.
But for him to be 16, I don't think 16 years is enough to say, well, at 16, we've seen enough. You can go on and we should throw away the key on you. I think that there's time for redemption based on the professional assessments that need to take place. Now, if they find out like, like if something was to come out about this young man and say, he got real he got conduct disorder for real. This just happened to be the last thing that he did.
Yeah.
But because he's already fit the criteria for the diagnostic, the DSM, he's already fit the criteria for conduct disorder. It's only, he's going to antisocial personality disorder next. And it's going to be some type of, but kind of behavior that he gets in. Should we want to see his psychopathy, in the public? Should we want to see those type of behaviors where there's no impulse control, there's no, just no remorse, lack of empathy? These are sometimes the people that go out and really cause a lot of damage. Now, if they do those kinds of studies, then he may be a threat, to the public. But if that's not coming out, you know what I'm saying? I think that the young man with the correct rehabilitation should be able to get some assistance to be able to usher him back into society. Not to mention, his own shame. 16-year-olds, I don't care how tough you are. At 16, there's a high degree of shame that he's probably experienced by now at this point in time. And that's something he'll never forget. And like I said, unless he got some type of personality disorder,
Yeah.
antisocial type of thing going on, there's no way that he can carry on without feeling a high degree of shame.
Yeah.
When he's back, back in his right mind at baseline and he realized what has happened.
Mhm. That's real talk.
Yeah.
That's real talk. Shame, and he's probably grieving his sister too, even though.
Yeah, that's his sister.
I
He
mean, like,
I lost it.
mm-hmm.
And now people are thinking that he's a monster. But going back to that judge, man, this is something I talk to a lot of people about, especially when it comes to young men of color. We're oftentimes, by the time we're 13, straight up monsters.
Mm-hmm.
They look at us, anybody that you do anything, he's a monster. He's going to be this. He's, that. He's not. He doesn't even need to be out in society. You might as well go and lock him up now. By the time he's 18, he's going to do something that's going to keep him there for life. That's how people look at it. But I wonder about the contrast and the route from at what point in time does the victim become the villain? So going back to this young man's story, if he was raised up in a group, in a home or in a family environment since the age of 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, years old, where conflict resolution for them was fisticuffs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It was really, that's their version of conflict. They wasn't talking nothing out. They walking everything out and walking everything down. If that was the way that they knew things, and that's what he was taught at an early age, those experiences shape the way that you become.
And that's what it sounded like it was.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it sounded as if like that's what when I was reading the article and watching the clips, like that's how they dealt with things, was it was very combative, right? So I guess it kind of leads into, them being combative, but also like, where does that come? Because then we can get into generational trauma, like what happened with the mom, where things had to be really combative, or like what within her world or her upbringing, kind of set it to where it's like, okay, this is like how we communicate, right? And it's not intentional. It's not like, okay, I understand, like this is the way it's supposed to be, but we don't really have too many options or like traumas involved or things that happen, then it can be very confusing on like, how do you have a healthy conversation? How do you resolve conflict without aggression or violence?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because if it's worked so far, why would you change it?
And I think everybody knows, just from the standpoint that everybody should have empathy when it comes to changing habits. If you're taught something, that's what you know. You know what I mean? At a very young age, your mind is so impressionable. Everything is almost like a language in a sense.
Yep.
If you're taught, that this is the way that you handle conflict, if what I'm saying, it's just like being taught this is the way you speak. And if it happens to be English, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you go your whole life doing that. And then all of a sudden somebody's speaking to you in Mandarin, you're gonna be like, what you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? No, that ain't what it is. Somebody disrespect me, it's up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna take it all the way there if that's what you're taught.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So going back to that original question, at what point in time does the victim turn into the villain? Because if you being a mental health, a licensed psychotherapist, if you seen, say you had a young child and you seen that he, was exposed to that type of treatment from day one, like you already knew, like, man, this is how they get down. Like they really get it cracking. Like when they fight, it's with passion. Somebody get hurt, all that kind of stuff. If you knew that a child was raised into that, you seen a little 6-year-old boy being exposed to that, you would feel bad. You'd be like, dog, this kid's a victim of some type of abuse. But that same 6-year-old, if he has never gotten any help, by the time he's 13, the world don't look at him as a victim no more. They now look at him as a victim. That little 6-year-old can be acting out in class and all the teachers are going to be like, oh no, what's wrong with little Antoine? What did he, something has to be going on at home. By the time he's 13, I ain't calling nobody. Except, does he have a probation officer?
Yeah.
You need to get him up out of here.
Yeah.
And so that's the hard part. You know what I'm saying? With a situation like that, we definitely need to know more. I'm definitely curious to know more. And like I said, barring any type of personality disorder of some sort, where we got, like, he's going to be a a
Mhm.
threat to, you know, the public's well-being, like he's gonna hurt somebody, barring that, I think the shorty should get another chance
Mhm.
with the right kind of help.
Yeah, most definitely. The right type of guidance, right type of
Mhm.
right type of help can really, change within, you know what I mean? But it's going to the point where you're talking about like when's the victim becomes the villain. I don't think in this sense, just in my perspective, I don't think anybody's a villain. I think there's more victims than villains, right? So
Oh, for sure. But I'm saying how society views it.
yeah, no, for sure. Society's gonna look at it as like,
Yeah, that's a monster.
yeah, especially him being a black male as well too. It's
Yes.
okay, yeah, now that was part of his instinct, or that's just who he is, but
Mhm.
us looking even beyond that is, yeah, it's going to be hard. Again, like he is the villain in this case, from the judge standpoint, because he is the person incarcerated per se, but he's a victim too, not to like victimize or anything like that, but you look at it from the standpoint of the whole context, everything. It's like, yeah, it's sometimes victim of circumstance, a victim of upbringing, the age,
Yes.
like you didn't have the right tools, to really deal with whatever it is you're dealing with, right? And over something that was, well, I
Very
guess kind of
minor.
looking at, yeah, very, very. It wasn't like it was over a Wi-Fi password,
Yeah.
in the gaming. So again, understanding like, yeah, people do get upset. Like you can go on YouTube and TikTok and look at like gamers' reactions, and like people get heated. But again, I don't feel like that was something that was most definitely kind of avoidable. Not kind of, but it was avoidable.
It's
Right.
definitely avoidable. And I think, like I said, if he could have got 30 seconds back, you know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? If he could have got
100%.
30 seconds back, and that's what I tell a lot of shorties out there, just in general,
Mm-hmm.
who out here, out here doing a lot of, crazy stuff. In LA right now, this smash and grab game is real. They going ballistic.
Mm-hmm.
They going into all these stores and they snatching stuff, and I'll be looking like, hey man, they got something for you, dog. Y'all
Yeah.
might want to slow down. You
Yeah.
know, you,
100%.
yeah, you might be a little too late on them. You're gonna end up being too late. They gonna catch you. The
100%.
ones that got away and got fat off of it, I think those days are over. But they're doing a lot of stuff. They're making a lot of, like I say, impulse control and just poor decision making. And like I say, man, the wrong 30 seconds can turn into a long 30 years, champ. Straight
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
The
What did
wrong
Big
30
Big
seconds
Sean
can turn into
say?
a long 30 years, man.
What did Big Sean say? He said, your life can change. Your whole Wikipedia could change in like a minute or a second. It just
In a
takes one
minute. If you
second
don't
to
know how to,
mess up your whole
yeah.
Wikipedia. Yeah,
But
that's
that's
real.
again, we're talking about kids though. We're talking about kids.
Yeah, like us being adults, we can look at it like, yeah, like that's real. Like, you can think about times. I mean, I can think about times where I've done stuff and haven't got caught. But if I would have got caught, it would have been like my life would have looked a lot different.
Look a whole lot different and
Mm.
got away. And I think everybody has gotten away with something.
100%.
Even the young man that had this unfortunate incident with his sister, he's done things previous to that and then got away with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But this is a pretty extreme
Yeah.
scenario. To you, and it's unfortunate. I just America is the land of second chances. If they were to be able to give him a second chance, let me ask you, what do you think his quality of life will be? Knowing that we live in this age of the internet, he would almost have to go into hiding. There's no way he could get back on,
Yeah.
social media and think, because people are gonna annihilate him.
Yeah, most definitely probably have to do some identity change. He would most definitely have to disconnect from his family,
Yeah, witness protection.
type of things.
People gonna be looking like, who? Oh, hey, you such and such. Oh, you
Yeah.
can you kind of, nobody who, like, think about it. You have a guy like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's given a second chance and he gets out or whatever, and his application comes across your desk.
Mm-hmm.
You're an employer.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about, you didn't work very, very hard for the business that you got to. Work very hard. And his application comes across your desk and you do a background check
Yeah.
on who that is. What do you do?
Me, I would most definitely try to give him a chance, but
Mhm.
there gotta be some type of stipulations. You know,
Right.
there have to be like some like, hey, like, and it depends what type of work you're doing as well too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like if he's like an office manager or something like that, then it's like, okay. Because I don't feel as if, because the thing is, my perspective is some people may be like, oh, well, I've worked with parolees, I work with people, sex offenders, I've worked with these people before. So I understand that, you know, there could be possibilities of them changing if they're given the right direction, the right course, because you can also assist and help, because sometimes if they don't have certain things in place, such as like a job, that can lead them to spiral back out. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So
So
like
you want to
sometimes
do
you may
your
not
part.
realize how much power you really have, you know?
Mm-hmm. You want to be able to do your part. And I'm like you as well. Definitely giving him a chance, but I'm also a realist. It's a
Mhm.
strong possibility his application will not come across my desk or your desk.
Mhm.
And the people whose application, who he may come, you know what I'm saying? How a lot of people look at things. They look at not just how they personally feel, but then they think about, okay, well, what kind of work environment does this create amongst the other employees if they
Mhm.
find out that this is in his background and stuff like that? You know, like it gets
That's
kind of that's where it gets challenging. And it's something. No, he's a human being at the end of the day. He's not a monster. He's a human being at the end of the day, and humans can take only so much rejection
Mhm.
before they really, really believe what it is that the masses are spewing out to them.
Mhm.
Of him being a monster, you know, that type of stuff. So it's going to be a long road ahead. I don't know what I think for him, some type of witness protection type thing where he would have to
Yeah.
definitely get his identity changed and
Yeah. That
all
whole
that.
little process.
Yeah, and I'm hoping at the age of 16 that they definitely give him a second chance.
Mhm.
Like I said, unless they bring in some type of, they do a battery of test and they find out like, nah, like maybe he been doing other stuff while he's been in jail, while he's been in prison or whatever.
Mhm.
Like they're saying like, nah, this is it's something deeper going on.
Yeah.
But I would think if that was the case, that they wouldn't even be putting it up for, you know, it wouldn't even be talked about again. Obviously, he's probably cooperated or done what he's supposed to do.
100%. 100%. But yeah, man, I mean, that is a very controversial topic, right? I'm glad most definitely was able to like address it and talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. There's gonna be some more.
Yes,
Perspective, man.
sir.
Well,
Um, but yeah, man. Anything else, or what any closing thoughts or anything like that?
no, like we always just tell people, man, we want you to try to become the best version of yourself.
Mhm.
Protect your peace, and one of the best ways to be by is doing that is protecting your immediate environment, man. Be around good things.
100%.
Don't intentionally volunteer to be around anything or anyone that's going to bring you down.
Yep. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, appreciate y'all tapping in. I'm T with my co-host.
EJ.
Yes, sir. All right, until next time, y'all take care.